Good evening to everybody, one and all boys and girls, who I presume are self-isolating. Now, over here in the UK, we have pretty much just shut everything now. I was going back to work in a few days, that's no longer happening. I think we're just going to be leaving supermarkets and pharmacies open, hospitals of course. That is about it. Now, I know that saving lives is more important than sports, so let's just underline that. But this is a sports channel. And I was just wondering about the effects this is having on boxing and the very real threat that we could have no boxing for the remainder of 2020, which would be a real disaster of its own magnitude, inconvenience, and just massive disappointment for what was getting ready to be a significant year for a lot of fighters and boxing in general. Now, thinking about the adverse effects this is having on various careers and potential fights, looking at heavyweight, I don't think it's too disastrous. I think we've already had the most significant fight we were going to have this year at heavyweight, which was the rematch between Fury and Wilder. The rubber match doesn't inspire much. I don't believe most people feel Fury's got that one really. And then Joshua was scheduled to fight Pulev and then maybe Alexander Usyk. Yeah, that would have been an interesting one. But the idea that's on the tip of most people's tongues, or was, Fury against AJ, we've got the possibility to make that one happen, I think, for the next year or two. So that's not going to slip through our fingers if it doesn't happen this year. So not a major disaster at the flagship division. At middleweight, with Canelo, the other really big cash cow, he was going to be fighting Billy Joe Saunders, and then maybe that trilogy, that rubber match with Golovkin. Again, not a massive loss if that doesn't happen. I know a lot of fans would like to see it. They'd like to get some sort of closure. Not many people are calling for it though. We've already had two fights. We know Golovkin's career is starting to go on the downward curve. Not a disaster if that fight doesn't happen. For me, the real shame in a boxing sense of missed opportunities, of precious time going by, would be for me the top three pound for pound guys: Terence Crawford, Vasily Lomachenko, and Naoya Inoue. Now, Inoue, a lower weight fighter, his career is just really starting to explode. Bigger and bigger profile potential all the time. He was going to have his debut in America in April against John Rael Casimiro. Both big punchers. It was going to be a unification. That's been postponed. Had Inoue won, he probably would have had another significant fight, another one that would have pushed his profile up again in the latter half of the year. And now that might not very well be happening either. Terence Crawford and Vasily Lomachenko are in a similar kind of boat, where you've got two real pound for pound talents who have yet to have their first real big meaningful fight. Now, I know Terence Crawford did have that unification against Victor Postol a few years ago, but looking back now, it didn't really do that much justice to his talent. This is a guy who was beating people with something to spare. And we know the fight against Errol Spence can't really happen, but he really needs to start making some moves, being 32, 33. He's got to start getting some meaningful victories on that ledger, again, for a guy of that talent. And then we have Vasily Lomachenko, who was supposed to have a big year this year. We had Teofimo Lopez possibly fighting him in the Garden in June. That's not going to be happening anytime soon. And then again, he would have probably had another significant fight later in the year. Maybe he would have been able to get Gervonta Davis in there. Guys, he may well prove to be, again, kind of like Crawford, with something to spare easily, but he needs these bigger names on his resume. We don't know if they're going to pick up an injury in training, not be the same guys. Boxing careers can be quite short. So there we are. I was just listening to Eddie Hearn as he says, even if boxing starts to function again later in the year, we're not going to open up massive stadiums and have those kind of fights. It's going to be on a small scale because we've got to play this carefully as we try and stabilise society again. So, bit of a shame with boxing. I think the main pound for pound guys at the moment are the ones whose careers really suffer when they're just really ready to get those big victories. It's been taken away from them and they're not getting any younger. But last word has to be said, everybody keep safe. Let's hope the death toll continues to, or at least start to decrease.